My name is Allison Sander, and I will be talking about the controversial topic of the death penalty. Carl Ryman, 31 years old. He and girlfriend Betty Pichet walk into the Pine Village Steakhouse restaurant, but little does anyone know that 5 of them would not make it out alive. Sorry. 5 innocent lives be taken because of one man's need for power. Power over who? No one knows. Maybe it's just solely because of the money. Because Carl Ryman pulls a gun out and robs a restaurant, but also in the process kills 5 innocent people. Of those 5 people, he shoots and kills a 75-year-old man who was a cook at the time and a 16-year-old girl who worked as a dishwasher. Those people would not get to go home that night. That girl would never get to see her wedding day, make a family, have grandchildren. That old man, he would never get to tell his family he loved them, never get to enjoy his retirement because he was still working. But because of the Illinois Prisoner Review Board, Carl Ryman walks free. Carl Ryman, who has the blood of 5 innocent people on his hands, walks free because no one would do anything about it. Growing up, my dad always said, an eye for an eye, an ear for an ear, a life for a life. Because in my perspective, in the way I grew up, people need justice served as equally as it was the crime was committed. One of my points includes that if you reprimand or punish someone for a crime, the crime will go down. And if the cost of that said crime is higher, then the frequency of committing said crime will decrease dramatically. An example is stealing a phone from someone's backpack. Yeah, you're not going to get in too much trouble, but knowing that you can get suspended, expelled, possibly arrested would decrease the frequency of that happening again. I know personally a girl in my PE class back in 7th grade got her phone stolen, and whenever it was found, the criminal or student in the class got expelled, and whenever they came back, they were pretty much a great student. But that's besides the point. And going along, just another point is that morally, I grew up in a church and I have very strong morals and religious views. And one of them is that it's not okay to take an innocent life. It's not okay to take a life in general, but God does appoint people with authority to bring justice to those who murder innocent people, and that is biblical. I know that people disagree on the terms of biblical versus morality, but a majority of our population is Christians, and the Pilgrims got away from New England because of their religious views. So the basis of the U.S. is primarily religious-based people. The next point I would like to bring up is that people need closure and justice for wrongdoings. The victims' families deserve closure and to be at peace with the crime committed against their loved ones. In cases like Carl Ryman, it's hard for the families to feel like they've gotten closure or feel like justice has been served because he gets to walk free for literally no reason. And I find it that hard to deal with and cope with, and nothing as bad has actually ever happened to me personally. A lot of people will say that it's not our place to play God, to choose who lives or dies, and to reprimand that, I guess. In the Bible, it says, Romans 13:1 states that everyone must submit to governing authorities. For all authority comes from God, and those in positions of authority have been placed there by God. And the next verse goes to say that anyone who goes against what God has said will be punished. And you know that growing up, my parents always said something about putting the fear of God in me, and I'm telling you that going against him, especially based on personal experience, the fear of God is in place in my life. And so things like the death penalty, people should not take lightly. On an interview with my close friend and colleague, she says that it's very important to get justice on people like Carl Ryman. Not only is she my close friend and colleague, she's also my roommate, and we grew up together. And she's also a devout Christian, like myself. She says it's not only protects others, but allows the families to grieve and come to place with said grief. So luckily we stand on the same side of this argument, that death penalty is necessary, that people deserve justice, closure, that people with morals and religious backgrounds, and people who just know that committing murder and other crimes is wrong, they know that the death penalty is necessary to keep a sane and cultured community alive. In the argument that we shouldn't play God, biblical evidence clearly states that God gives the authority depending on the crime to serve justice. So, again, people shouldn't just assume that because we use religion to back our answers that we are that we're ignoring other people's problems. We're not forcing religion on other people. We are just saying that it is extremely difficult to see it from another perspective if you're not using your religion. I'm so sorry. But from my views and evidence that I have provided, I hope that you can see how costly keeping prisoners alive is, how morally murder of innocent people is not justified, and how important the healing and closure of the victim's family is. Another thing is that, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Being on the pro side of the death penalty comes at great cost. I know there's a lot of people who disagree that the death penalty is wrong and there should never be another life taken by us, especially religious people at the same time. Because I know my family, the other side of the family, argues that death penalty is wrong, nobody should take lives, but that other people, religious people, argue that an eye for an eye and ear for ear, a life for a life. So I hope that my evidence and speech brought light to your never-ending conflict of the death penalty and what you should think about it. And I hope that I have persuaded you to look at things from a different perspective. So, thank you.